let them know.
Okay, sounds good. So in the interest of time then, we got 9 participants who joined in and I've started recording, Martin, so.
All right, you've got 9. Let me just, can you see, or could you share on the screen who they are, so, just so I can see, because that sounds like a full complement to me.
So a quick roll call: Martin, A. O'Neill, G. Storder,
Yep.
Patrick Hallberg, Paul Race, Shane Roden, and Horseware.
Okay, excellent. I think we're all here.
Okay. Fire away, Martin.
Okay, so very quickly, apologies for the delay, everybody, but let's crack on. So this is the e-commerce strategies for Infor M3 webinar, part of our e-commerce and CRM special interest group. If you can flick to the next slide, I'll get through these nice and quick. So our hosts today are our friends at LeanSwift, who I'll hand over to in a moment. But just before we do that, just a quick reminder. Next slide, please. Our mission, the M3UA's mission, is to help you, our members, acquire knowledge and experience with M3 faster. And this is part of that. The special interest group's a big part of what we do to help you build your knowledge of M3. Of course, there are annual conferences, newsletters, networking events, and so on. But this is the foundation of what we do. So next slide, please. We have coming up the Benelux conference. So a quick advert for that. If anybody hasn't registered, please do so. The agenda is full. We've got a great lineup of speakers and also a full complement of sponsors and exhibitors. So the place is going to be packed with expertise and not to be missed event. So next one, as I said, this is a special interest group. This is one of a number of interest groups that are running. This is the e-commerce and CRM group. New events are added to the calendar all the time. You can see the link there, M3UA.org.uk events. And if you have ideas about things you want us to talk about, because these are, this should really be our members asking to discuss certain topics rather than us forcing topics upon you, leave your thoughts at m3ua.org.uk/m3ua-6, so you can leave your suggestions. So with that, that's all my intro done. I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Martin, and thanks everyone for joining in this morning. So my name is Johan Axelsson, and my background has been working with Infor M3 and for 25 plus years, with e-commerce for the past 10 years or so. So e-commerce is something that is near and dear to LeanSwift and to the work that we do when it comes to helping our customers and helping all the Infor customers around the world to digitize the business. And the topic of today, and the idea here is just to try to share as much as possible what other Infor M3 customers are doing. So that's kind of the common denominator when it comes to e-commerce strategies. And these are, of course, not unique in any way, shape, or form to companies that do use Infor M3. But there's a lot of our colleagues or your colleagues out there in different industries that have been leveraging different e-commerce platforms, different technologies, different tools to increase their sales, to increase the customer service, and at the end of the day, make their business more profitable and make their customers more happy. So the topics today that I briefly wanted to touch upon, and just again share a little bit what other customers are doing when it comes to inbound marketing, B2C versus B2B, when it comes to digitizing customer service, how do we work with product lifecycle management, what are the different options and tools out there, what are the different channels, and what the experience with working with different channels. And I know some of you guys are probably already doing quite a bit of this. Some of you might have been starting to look at selling more online, regardless if it's B2B or B2C. Also, some of the trends that we see across the board is customers that historically, and again, when I say customers now, I'm referring to any company out there using Infor M3. Most of Infor customers have historically been more wholesalers, manufacturers, distributors, more B2B than B2C. But we also have a lot of customers now that say, well, I'm a brand owner, and part of protecting my brand identity, as part of that, we actually need to communicate directly with the consumers, and we need to do that without undercutting our distributors and our wholesalers. So how do we balance our B2C and market presence with B2B without again undercutting the distributors? So with that as the agenda and the topic, when looking at digital transformation, well, what is digital transformation, and what is it we need to do? Well, part of what we've been doing forever, and what you did when you first came to selected Infor M3 or Infor Cloud Suite, it was looking for operational efficiency. Well, part of what we need to do now is we will definitely need to extend the operational efficiency that we've seen over the years to informational efficiency. How do we make it information accessible to your customers, to your vendors, and to create transparency in the supply chain? So the purpose of everything you do when you're looking at your e-commerce site, well, don't think of e-commerce, don't think of that as a sales channel. Think of this as an information channel. How do we communicate with our customers in a more efficient way? And in a more efficient way, then it's not what you think is more efficient. What is more efficient from your customer's point of view? So the digital transformation, it can take a couple of different routes. We have the digital evolution that I think Amazon, we keep using these two as guiding lights when it comes to what companies has been achieving. And Amazon has really been the leader when it comes to the evolution, but it's not really rocket science. They've been really efficient, just making sales easier. And then we have the other side of the spectrum where you have technology that completely just changes an entire industry, an entire business. And there's a number of these that we've seen really creating a digital revolution. And we're not expecting you guys now to come up and create your own digital revolution, but we definitely want to look at these and learn from these different leaders in the industry and see what we can do when it comes to communicating with our customers. So on the evolution side, think about, if you look at your business, if you look at how you communicate with your customers, at the end of the day, it's all about making it easy for your customers to do business with you. And one of the things that Amazon spearheaded was they had a patent of the one-click checkout. So if you sign up, you already have your account, you're logged into Amazon, just add to cart, and you've already ordered the product. So if you think about this and compare it to your business, how many clicks does it take for your customers to place the order? If it's more than one click, then you're definitely not leading this. And Amazon then today, one of the things that impresses me with the company is that they don't sit back and relax. They try to keep even being more efficient. So with the launch of Alexa, with being part of your both your personal and your business day, they want to make it possible for you to check out without even clicking anything. It's just going to be a voice call to Alexa. So make the comparison to yourself and see, well, how efficient are you? And where does this take in Amazon? Well, definitely to be a leader, and I'm based in the US myself, so of course a lot of the input is based on the US market, but the outcome in the US, and when it comes to US households, is that currently 44%, or actually 2017, 44% of US households own a gun, 49% of US households have a landline, and 51% of US households go to church, while 63% of US households are Amazon Prime members. And let this thing sink in a little bit. 63% Amazon Prime members. What does this mean for anyone doing business in the US? Well, if you are selling your products and your products are Prime enabled, well, then you automatically have access to 63% of the US households. If you're not Prime enabled, well, you don't. And more people now look at products, purchase products on Amazon. When they try to look up and find a product, Amazon is the #1 search engine. It's not Google anymore. It's not Bing. It's not any other search engine. Amazon is the product search engine. And one of our customers, that are in the apparel industry, selling to both B2C and B2B, when they took their products last year and became Prime enabled, their B2C sales increased 900%. 900% of just becoming Prime enabled. So looking at what others do and making sure we're swimming downstreams and not swimming upstreams is, of course, critical. So with that kind of introduction of, again, keep coming back to what Amazon and other players in the market are doing. What about this inbound marketing and lead nurturing? What are our customers doing here? And what is it worth thinking about? Well, when it comes to finding new customers, again, making sure then that you are, of course, your products are enabled, SEO enabled, so it's easy for your customers to find them, of course, for new customers to find them, but also when communicating with customers, what a lot of our customers now, other Infor M3 customers are focusing and doing is using marketing tools like Marketo or HubSpot to drive channel communication. And when doing that, making sure that you don't have one communication to all customers. So if you have B2C customers and B2B customers, if we within those two segments have different industries that you're targeting, making sure that your customer segment, any customer messaging is key. And when I'm looking at what we're doing, working with Infor M3 customers, we have customers in food and beverage industry, we have distributors, we have a chemical industry, and a lot of the Infor M3 functionality is applicable to all those different industries. But any customer communication that we do needs to be targeted for a chemical company using a language that they are interested in, that they understand, and the same thing for food and beverage. So when making sure now that you're using different marketing messages to different customers, having your marketing tool tied into your CRM system, regardless of what type of CRM you're using. And another way of to also make sure that you do lead nurturing, making sure that you can get back to this. So on an average, when it comes to reaching out to new customers, you need to have up to 9 touch points before that market communication actually turns into a lead. And if you think about that and you reached out to your customers once or twice or 3 times, remember, if the industry average is 9 times, don't give up too early. What about affiliate marketing? That's another one of our really splendid e-commerce customers and Infor M3 customers. They get about 20% of the revenue on affiliate marketing. And the comment from these guys was, well, if you're not selling using affiliate marketing, then you're just missing out on a lot of revenue. So making sure now that you can set up your marketing strategy to include anyone and everyone that potentially could be positioning your products, and make sure that, of course, that you're willing to give them a piece of the pie, because it's all about, hey, put my product on your blog, put my product on all the different other sites apart from Amazon and eBay and Walmart, the big guys, which also, of course, is part of affiliate marketing. There's tons and tons of other sites out there. So when it comes to B2B versus B2C, what are our customers doing? Well, as I already mentioned, a wide variety when it comes to which segments the Infor M3 customers typically target. B2B has been the wholesalers and distributors, has been the core of the M3 base. But a lot of our customers now do target other going into B2B, B2C as well. And I'd like to come back and just switching over real quick to look at some examples. So alternative apparel, these guys have, this is the B2C site. So one B2C site, which then at the bottom has a link to the wholesale login, which would take me to a site that it's different, but if you look at the first look and feel, it's not really, it still has the same core platform. We got a login for wholesalers. They have a couple of different types of distributors. They have screen printers. So there's one site for companies that do work with screen printing, another login for the retailers to the boutiques and the retail stores. And the look and feel is very similar. The product information is reused. So if I go search for a product in the B2B site, the same product information is being reused as if there would be on the B2C site. So they do the work once, publish it in multiple different sites. The biggest difference being that if I would like to look at a product on the B2B site and place the order, well, I'd first need to have an account, be a wholesaler, or need to apply to become a wholesaler. So no prices, no inventory is displayed to any of the distributors unless you already have been approved to be a customer. Another example, Bargreen Ellingson. So this company building restaurants and bars, and once they've helped you build your restaurant, they supply anything and everything that you could be needing in that restaurant. They used to have multiple sites, but they've now merged this into one single site. So the difference simply being terms and conditions, pretty much. So if I would go take a look at a particular product, there's no difference in how the products are being presented. The same website caters to both B2C and B2B. If I now am a B2B customer, they would display a different price. So that this would be, they see the MSRP. I'm logged in as a consumer right now, so I just get to see the consumer price. But otherwise, the same information pretty much for both B2C and B2B. So it doesn't have to be, it could be multiple sites, it doesn't have to be multiple sites. And when it comes to targeting, got another example of Augusta Sportswear. So here's Augusta Sportswear has a B2B site with multiple different brands. When it comes to the B2B, they've decided instead of wholesaling these 4 different brands in the same B2C site, they've got one B2C site per brand. So one for Augusta and one for Holloway and another additional sites for different branding. So that's other ways of just positioning and presenting different sites when it comes to B2C or B2B. At the end of the day, it's on the B2B, what we typically see is a lot more focus on customer communication instead of your typical B2C, where it's more about selling the product. So if I, again, coming back to the one example of the B2B site and going to my account and my order history, invoice history, being able to go, as for instance, now to my invoice page, having everything now, of course, seamlessly connected to your Infor M3 system. So if I go look up an invoice information, either being able to present this invoice information directly on the page, being able to search by purchase order number, etc., view as a PDF, connect to your document archive. So if you're running Infor's IDM, to directly take this invoice and download it. When it comes to B2B additional information and make it easy for your customers to find whatever they're needing, I typically like to refer to Berkshire, which is they work with contamination control, any type of products that needs to be sterile. And one of the key things for their customers is to be able to find the product information and safety data sheets. And if I'm looking for a safety data sheet, I have bought something with a particular lot number of 0824209 is the lot number that I had a delivery from, so I can download the certificate of sterility directly from the website. So think of especially on the B2B side, not just of e-commerce as a way to sell products to your customers. We're coming back to it's all about customer communication and making it easy for your customers to find the information they need when they need it. So when it comes to launching the site again, digitizing your customer service, one of the questions that we typically get, well, so is this something, well, our customers really like to call customer service. They like to talk to us. We're very personal. We have a personal relationship with our customers. Well, what we're finding is, in fact, that you're, especially on the B2B side, your customers, or I'll take that back, even on B2C and both B2B and B2C, your customers, they don't want to talk to you. They want to do their business as quickly, as efficiently as possible. But it doesn't mean you have to be alienating your customers. We just need to make sure that we provide transparency, and that transparency is in showing your customers what is the available inventory right now. So if I'm going to order something, I want to know that I'm going to get it delivered. If you don't have it available, can you show you're available to promise directly from M3? So switching back again, and let's go quickly and to take a look at another example. If we go to a company called Edeco, so this is another Infor M3 customer. This site is targeting the Swedish and the Scandinavian market. And if I'm looking at a particular drill, they're selling drills. So if I scroll down, we see a list of available products, and directly from Infor M3, we can see that I have available inventory is 5. These particular products, I don't have available inventory, but I'm showcasing the ATP from M3, so it's available in 1 to 2 days. So with the transparency, the customer can feel comfortable that I can order 5 of these, and knowing that the lead time is going to be 1 to 2 days. So you see a lot of different dimensions on the same product. I was going to see if we had a longer lead time, but all of these were available in 1 to 2 days currently. So showcasing pricing information, available inventory, shipping documents, and making sure that it's as few clicks as possible to order. So that's all. Remember that it's all about just making it easy for your customers to place the order. And we had I had another example of a shoe company having a B2B site for their distributors, and one of their customers typically were placing their orders on their desktop, and they were tracking, is the order coming in on the desktop or is it on a mobile device, and they had an order of 125,000 euros that was placed on a mobile device. And if you think about shoes, how many shoes you do then have to order to place that order? And think again of if your customers would use their mobile device to place an order of this size, well, how many clicks would that be? So this really requires a very user-friendly user experience and an efficient way to be able to place an order of that size. So that's when it comes to digitizing the customer service, again, coming back to just providing the information your customer needs as efficiently and quickly as possible. So what do our customers do when it comes to working with the products and presenting the products? Well, there is a number of different PLM systems or PIM systems, product information management systems, available out there. InRiver is one that is very popular in Europe and Scandinavia. Channel Advisor has a very big footprint in the US. A lot of our customers use Magento as both the e-commerce site and the product information management system. So what we're typically seeing is coming back to a product site, and I'm going to bring up and take a look at the customer order just to showcase the product information. I'm looking at my product information for my knife. So on this particular shun knife, we have product information. Some of this product information comes directly from M3. So the weight information comes from M3 directly. The blade material and the handle material is not information that they store in M3. So this is information now that's been added using the product information management system. And the text description, images, videos, etc., typically added using a PIM system. And so when doing this, think about who will be consuming your product information. Is it only your own website? We have customers as well. When I'm presenting my information on a website, I also want to be able to provide that as a data feed to my distributors so they can set this, publish the product information on their websites touchless with minimum effort on my distributors. So InRiver has good functionality to do that. Channel Advisor has been targeting functionality so that when I'm selling on multiple different channels, so if I, for instance, now would like to take my products and sell on Amazon or sell on Walmart or eBay or any other channel, you don't want to maintain that product information. You need to make sure your product information is compatible to the different marketplaces, the different channels. And Channel Advisor is doing a really good job when it comes to making sure now that you are compatible, that you're also taking the product and adding the products to the right categories. So Amazon and Walmart might have different setup of different categories. And you need to make sure that you are compliant both with image resolution, information, etc. So using your PLM system or PIM system, depending on where you typically consume your product information, there's a number of different options then available for you. And if you all have heard about Infor's Infor Rhythm, Infor has actually bundled in the in-river solution in Rhythm. So the PIM solution in Rhythm is actually the in-river product. So what are the experiences from our customers that do sell on Amazon and eBay and Walmart? Well, and not only a matter, of course, of getting a bigger footprint, the experience is that different products sell better in different channels. If you look at these different markets, and again, this is from a US perspective, but you can see we see the same thing in Europe, that you should target different products to different channels depending on the customer segmentation of who is actually shopping on these sites. So it's been a really good turnout. And coming back to the multi-channel product offering, if we go take a look at alternative apparel and switching to Amazon and take a look at alternative apparel. So again, key thing, making sure that your products are Prime enabled, making sure that you have product information, that if you're not currently publishing your products on Amazon, or eBay or other markets, it's a pretty high likelihood that one of your distributors are doing it. And are they then presenting the same the product in a way that you want it to be presented? So taking ownership of presenting your products on the different markets has been key for all our products. And again, of course, we need to make sure that you're not competing with your distributors. So what then is the difference between going multi-channel and then to doing omni-channel? I don't know how many of you that actually do have both retail stores, but what we're seeing in the market is that multi-channel today is a commodity. We have a lot of customers that do multi-channel, and both when it comes to B2C and B2B. When it comes to omni-channel, still not so easy, still not so turnkey. So if I do have, when it comes to the omni-channel, making sure that your consumer is in the center, your customer has one customer experience, regardless if they buy in store, if they buy by phone, if they buy on the web, if they buy on the mobile. And when we really dive into the transactions, we also see how Infor M3 then is the hub of this wheel. But you need to then to integrate all the different systems. So if I have a customer that buys something online, can they take that product that they bought online, go return it in the store, get a store credit, walk out of the store and go and pick up that store credit on the mobile phone and place a new order for another product? And if I now do also have a loyalty program, is your loyalty program connected? So regardless if they buy online, if they buy using any of the other different marketing channels or in store, that it's all connected. So the typical challenges that we do run into is simply the level of integration when it comes to campaigns, If you do you have the same marketing, the same pricing in the stores as you do have online, and making sure that the user experience is one user experience regardless of how the customer is communicating with you. And again, more applicable when it comes to the retail industry and customers that target consumers directly. So what about punch-out? Punch-out solutions. We have customers that when we launch e-commerce, they say, well, our customers are really not going to do this because they have their own systems, right? They're running Infor or Oracle or SAP or any other solution, and they just want to create a purchase order and send that purchase order over to us. Well, what if we could combine the e-commerce experience with an integration to their internal purchasing system, regardless if they use SAP or Ariba or anything else? So how a punch-out solution works is that your customers would go to your website, shop use your product catalog and be able to find the products, add to cart, but instead of completing the checkout process in your shop and pay the order directly, they would do the punch out, which brings back the shopping cart to their system, and they can then place their purchase order in SAP or Ariba, or using your website as the product catalog to make sure that they're buying the right thing. So one of our successful examples here is we have a customer in the US that they have about 8,000 customers in a bank that go and place the orders online, bring the order back to their SAP system. They do complete the purchase order. The purchase order is then sent using EDI into M3 for completion. So it's just a matter for them to find the product information and make it easier for your customers to do business with you. So this brings us to my last topic on e-commerce versus WebEdi versus EDI. So what is the trend and what are we seeing? Well, it's on the journey of making it easier for your customers to do business with you is if you don't have an e-commerce presence, and quite often now we exchange the e-commerce term for just a customer portal. If you don't have a customer portal available, you should make one available to your customers. If you can, and what we're seeing there is customers that do that, enable that functionality, the average order value is increasing, the order volume is increasing just because it's easier for your customers to place the order. For customers that do work, that have an e-commerce presence, if we also, the customers that also provide an EDI option, if one of our customers, they really have had a strategic work to try to move customers from placing orders via phone and mail and fax and whatnot into e-commerce. And then they've been working with their e-commerce customers to say, hey, we're doing a lot of business together. How about if we would set up EDI solution, and so you don't have to go to our site, because there's still, with e-commerce, there is of course the extra work for your customers to potentially place the purchase order in their system and then go to your website and place the order here. So that would be eliminated if we use a true EDI solution. But even our customers with EDI, then if your customers can place the order using EDI, still being able to log into your customer portal and find additional information about the order status. Has the order been shipped yet? What are the tracking numbers on this order? And additional document downloads, etc., has been proven really successful. So don't think of e-commerce as just a sales tool. Think of this as your customer communication to make it easy for your customers to do business with you. So, Martin, with those topics, covering those topics, I wanted to pass it back to you and see if you want to have any Q&A or wrap up with your additional information.
That was excellent, Johan. Fascinating to see the real examples. I do want to give anyone on the call the opportunity just to ask any immediate questions they have. So if anyone has something they'd like to ask, now would be a good time. While they think about that, just one thought that occurred to me. We saw one example, I think it was the alternative apparel who had multiple brands. Was that right? Or was that someone, Augusta? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was right. That was Augusta. So they do have four different brands on their on the B2B side.
Is this a multi-instance M3 installation, or is it all a single instance with multiple legal entities, or what?
For this customer, they actually they used to have a very siloed implementation, and now it's all consolidated in M3. So with one company, multiple divisions within the company. But I mean that's this is all about how you structure it internally, and there's no difference today. I mean if you run one company, multiple divisions, and also so if when looking at our customers and the different versions of M3 they're on, because that's also a question that we quite often get is, well, I'm on a version 10 on M3 or even older versions. So we do have customers that some of them are on the latest and the greatest 13.4 cloud on the cloud suite, and we also have some customers actually that are on very old versions, on RPG versions of M3, of actually the old MoveX.
Yeah.
So there's no limitations really in.
Yeah. So I guess the question more generically is, given that your e-commerce strategy you need to present a unified face to the customer globally, and the customer doesn't care about your internal structure, your divisional structure, your IT infrastructure, your instances of M3 or anything like that. What are the most common difficulties that you find in terms of overcoming that challenge? Presenting a single consistent interface to the customer, but with the complexity of the multi-instance, multi-division, multi-version M3 world.
I would say that we don't really see any challenges there at all when it comes to deciding how you would like to present this. I think the main thing that we see is if you do have multiple different you have different divisions, you have different warehouses, and especially when getting to the warehousing is, well, how would you like to set up your deliveries, your delivery methods, and your payment methods? So when looking at delivery method, I think these are where we typically end up having more detailed discussions of, should you allow, for instance, your customers to select, if you have different availability in different warehouses, should you allow the customer to decide which warehouse he should get the order from? And if he's doing that, is that going to affect his shipping cost? Are you going to pick up the shipping cost, or is the customer going to pay different depending on where he's shipping it from? Should you do a distribution order from your distribution center to one of the stores, and the customer comes in and pick it up in the store? And how does that affect both your logistics, your management in M3 of the order, as well as the cost connected to the order for the customer? So in this case, see where the customer has a possibility of saying, well, I'm going to walk into Portland, Oregon, and do an in-store pickup. So that's free of charge. But if I do the shipping, well, then depending on where I'm shipping these to, I'm going to have a different shipping cost that we calculate automatically. So some of these in-house logistics, I think, and the same thing with the payments, and saying, well, do we take credit cards? Do we manage returns? What on the B2B side? Can I have someone when I do a return? Should it be available on account? And can I reuse that? And how do we manage discount codes? And how do we track the discount code to make sure it doesn't affect my sales statistics in M3? So anything that we do online, of course, needs to be tracked accordingly as the order is being processed in M3. So more on the delivery and payment side then. any other logistics.
It's interesting. It's clear that you've probably encountered most of the significant challenges that people are likely to uncover. So when you think about, as M3 moves to Cloud Suite and the constant updates that take place, what's your expectation in terms of how you would manage and maintain your e-commerce solutions in that environment, given that M3 is constantly shifting now underneath?
Yeah, good question. So one thing that you do want to make sure is, of course, that any connectivity that you create, from regardless of which e-commerce solution you would select in the front end, when you're connecting now to the back end, we need to be compliant with the future multi-tenant version. And one of the things that I think all of our customers have been doing historically, we're using the M3 APIs, and we're going to be in the multi-tenant version now. We will be using the Ion APIs. So any communication now will be using Ion. So that is the key thing, making sure that you don't go directly to the database and pull in any information. Because as long as you're on premise, you have full access to your system and your database, and you can do whatever you like. And that is one of the things that is a big game changer, is that in the Cloud Suite versions, you do not have access to the database to pull any information directly. So we got to use Ion as the communication enabler to and from the system.
And just on that, sorry, Alan here from Horseware, just with that question in relation to the cloud e-commerce part and having an M3 on-prem, is the communications like up to the second, or how does it, or how often is it refreshed?
Yeah, good question. And it's what we typically do is we try to eliminate the communication as much as possible to the backend ERP from the e-commerce site for performance purposes. And then, of course, depends on what type of information is it that. So if we're looking at product information, all of that can be replicated typically. When it comes to pricing, if all our customers that use B2B, the capabilities of pricing in M3, where you have 9 different layers of calculating the sales price, and then you can start adding your discounts on top of that. It's extremely, the flexibility of M3 is enormous when on the pricing side. So for us to replicate all of that to the front end, it's pretty much, I would say, that's not recommended, unless you know that, well, these I'm not using agreements in M3 that could you could have an agreement that expires tomorrow, and then the customer's going to have a new price. So instead of keeping that updated from a pricing point of view, we could go back directly to M3 and pick up the pricing. And when doing that, well, performance is something we got to think about from the start. So if I go back and look at this site and say I'm going to pick up this drill again, and then when I scroll down, if you take a look right now, as I'm scrolling down, I don't have the pricing information in this column, and it takes a couple of seconds, and then we're updating the pricing. So this page then has been designed so that as a customer open up this page, I'm looking at the top of the page, and then we're doing additional online calls to M3 to get the available inventory, get the price information, and get the ATP.
Okay.
But need to consider that in the design.
Yeah, so a lot of the information will be sort of like once a day, and then you would have to decide what you need to have to be sort of refreshed when it's called. I get you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Okay, I think considerate of everyone's time. Martin, any closing thoughts?
No, just want to say thank you on 2 levels. First, thank you for your presentation, really interesting. And secondly, thank you for rescuing our special interest group meeting by hosting it for us. Just a quick question for anyone listening. This is, as I say, part of the e-commerce and CRM special interest group. If this has made you has brought up thoughts about other topics which you'd like to dig deeper into, or discuss further, then please let me know and we'll see what we can organize for you.